And our Hangout on Air is live. Yes, it's responsible local travel in the USA on this Friday, August 21st, celebrating all things wild in Nevada. So take a look at this beautiful photo of Gold Butte taken by our friend Jim. So we're going to have an hour-long conversation about what's wild and what needs to be wilder here in Nevada. I'm Ron Motter, host of Planeta.com and the Planeta Wiki, and we are continuing our series of Hangouts focusing on responsible local travel in the USA. Apologies in advance that our good friend and partner in these adventures, Deborah McLaren, is unavailable today. She is flying from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Minneapolis, having taken a job with the American Indian Tourism Association, working on public land. So she'll be back with us later. We have quite the mix of folks here in the state of Nevada taking good care of the natural world. And we'll be talking about national monuments and parks and all sorts of good things with these people. So I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves. Siobhan, can we go with you first?
Sure. My name is Siobhan Von Tobel. I am the Communications and Outreach Manager for Friends of Nevada Wilderness. And basically our mission statement is to protect and preserve our wild places here in Nevada. And we kind of have a threefold mission. One is to advocate for the protection of new wilderness areas. So far, we've been instrumental in getting all 70 wilderness areas here in Nevada protected. And then we also, say that we just don't just protect an area and then, leave it be. We try to erase past kind of impacts and current impacts to the area. Many areas around the state, we remove invasive weeds, we plant native seedlings, we kind of do a bunch of different projects. And then, of course, the last thing is kind of what I'm here today doing, just our outreach. We kind of talk about the importance of preserving these wonderful places that we get to enjoy here in the state. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let's go on to Jana.
Hi. So my name is Jane Malone, and I am the executive director for an organization called Friends of Gold Butte. And we are an advocacy organization. Our mission is to achieve permanent protection for the Gold Butte area, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And we do that through community education, community outreach, and advocacy. And I'm happy to be here today to talk about Gold Butte.
Fantastic, thank you. And Jim.
I'm Jim Stenger. I'm the board president for the Friends of Sloan Canyon. We're a nonprofit organization. Similarly to these other organizations here, we are out to conserve and protect the Sloan Canyon National Conservation Area, which is just south of Henderson, Nevada, the Las Vegas metro area, right on the southern edge. We do that a few different ways. We do outreach and education programs. We get out, sort of similar to what I'm doing right now, like the lady said, and just kind of tell the world the good word about Sloan Canyon. It's funny, not a lot of people in even Las Vegas. Well, I can't say that anymore. There's a fair amount of people in Las Vegas that don't realize that Sloan Canyon exists as a national conservation area. They just see the hills south of town, and they don't really know what that's all about. So the Friends of Sloan's really made a mission out of getting out there, exhibiting at farmers markets and different places to tell people that that's an area that's available for recreation, to get out and run, hike, bike, take your horse out there and have fun. We also are starting a trail monitoring and maintenance program with the Bureau of Land Management. We're helping them get folks out there while they're hiking, do some trail monitoring, look for spots that need improvement, and then put together teams of folks to go out and do that maintenance, do that work, do that stewardship, keep the place in good shape. There's more and more people that are visiting the area, so we're trying to, working with BLM to get out in front of it, of the maintenance, and make sure it's in good shape for folks to have fun in.
Beautiful. Let me start with a basic question for all of you, and paint a picture in the past 10, 15 years. Are we seeing a growth in the interest of these naturally protected areas? And are we looking at some sort of growth in terms of people wanting to go visit these places? And is that a good thing?
I can go ahead and respond to that one. I think we are seeing, especially in the last 10 years, there's been a really big growth in the interest of people visiting wild places in Nevada, and probably I think this has to do with more people moving to Nevada. The Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area, which is right outside of Las Vegas, has contributed to a large awareness of these areas and natural places to the Las Vegas population, which is really close to that. And Friends of Nevada Wilderness has had a big role in raising awareness about wilderness areas in Nevada. And the Friends of Sloan Canyon, with who Jim is with. Sloan Canyon is an area that's also a national conservation area right outside of Las Vegas, and so people are starting to be more curious about the outdoor opportunities around them. And more recently, Tule Springs, just north of Las Vegas, was designated a national monument, so that brought additional attention to the issue of national monuments. And then just this July, the Basin and Range National Monument was designated by President Obama. And so we have these large number of wild places in Nevada. About 86% of Nevada is open public land, and some of that's wilderness areas. It's just a great state to explore, and I think more and more people are realizing that.
Perfect. Siobhan, Jim?
What's that?
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, yeah, I just love to echo Jana's sentiment. You know, I'm a third-generation Nevadan, so I kind of grew up in Las Vegas during the boom when it really grew, and it's just amazing to see what Las Vegas has become. It's become this crazy metropolis area, and so I think more and more people are definitely seeking out the last wild places that we have surrounding Las Vegas. And Las Vegans are kind of blessed to have, I mean, Las Vegas is surrounded on all sides by wilderness, national conservation areas, national monuments. I mean, we're kind of blessed to have it all. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Look at all that public land.
Look
Yeah. So you could kind of see the yellow is the metropolis area, and then kind of all around we have places like Mount Charleston, Red Rock Canyon, Sloan Canyon, Gold Butte. I mean, people are just seeking out these last wild places, you know, to get some fresh air, to get some outdoor recreation, get their kids outside and exercising. I mean, all these kind of outdoor recreational opportunities, and it's a quality of life. And, you know, that's why we're there trying to safeguard these places. We're safeguarding recreational opportunities, safeguarding this quality of life, clean air, clean water. And it's also a way to get kind of away from this increasing modernization that we kind of have. We get to put the cell phone away and just kind of experience a natural way of living. So, and of course, it's a double-edged sword. More and more people go out there. There's more and more impacts to the land, which is great that we have these kind of resources like this Google Hangout and talking about sustainable travel, which I'm sure we'll get into more in the program.
Well, indeed. Jim, anything else?
Well, they covered it pretty well, but as far as negatives go, I don't see any, and there's no outright negatives in having more places to go out. You know, escape the. We're finding with greater awareness comes greater visitation. With greater visitation comes greater opportunities for destruction. Desert Southwest is great, but it's a slow growth environment. Things take a long time to grow and develop. In order to work with each other, the ecology of the area is sort of slow moving. There's not a lot of history kind of as things happen in the desert. They all kind of stay on the surface. That's why you can go out into the desert and you can see a lot of pioneer stuff still. You can see a lot of arrowheads just sitting on the ground that are hard to date because everything just kind of stays there. There's not a lot of deposition. There's not a lot of growing of the landforms over time in our time frame. I'm not talking geologic time, but so when folks go out there and have fun, they may take a vehicle out and they may tread over an area that is very sensitive, that's taking a long time to grow and develop and intertwine with the rest of the community, of the environmental community, and they may inadvertently destroy that environment, that area. Something I'm sure Jana might go into a little more detail here soon. But so there are things to keep in mind that with greater use of natural resources for recreation comes greater responsibility to treat it nice, to make it available for now other generations to enjoy as well.
Beautiful.
Well said, Jim.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it was Gold Butte that was in the news yesterday, and the question is, are we seeing increased vandalism and graffitiing of these sites? And I know there's no easy answer here, but additional monitoring and education is necessary. What are your thoughts, Dana?
So sadly, yes, what you're referring to is Friends of Gold Butte released a report this week titled "Damage in Gold Butte," and what we're seeing, especially in the last year and a half, there have been some adverse circumstances that have caused the Land Management Agency to halt patrols in the Gold Butte area. And what we're seeing is just an increased amount of vehicle traffic, vehicle intrusions that go off of the designated roads. We're seeing an increased amount of trash in the area, and we're seeing an increased amount of just general neglect and damage to the area. And one of the most egregious things that we're seeing is it looks to us like somebody is installing a desert, a watering trough to water what we presume is livestock out there, and that would be an unauthorized watering trough, which is what prompted us to release the report on our website. And I think maybe before we really sort of back up and get into the damage that we're seeing out there, I think it's important for people to maybe understand where Gold Butte is. So if you don't mind, Ron, I'll just take a minute to
Please introduce us to Gold Butte.
To talk about Gold Butte really quickly. And so I'm just going to try to show you guys a map. I'm going to see if this will work. But this will sort of give you an idea of where, it looks like it's kind of not, can you see it?
There we go.
Or is it?
Is it? The map.
All right. Can you see the entire map? Or is it sort of cut off?
Nope, we can see enough of it.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we can Lake Mead and then the Gold Butte complex.
Oh, good. So, so I think what I'll do is I'll just sort of use. You can see that I-15 there is, it's very close to Las Vegas. It's about an hour and a half north of Las Vegas. If you were to drive on I-15 north towards the city of Mesquite, you would arrive at an exit to the Bunkerville, called the Bunkerville exit, and from there you would go south, and you would take a road south called the Gold Butte Road, and that gets you into this large area, the Gold Butte area, and it's a big area. It's about 350,000 acres of land. It's BLM managed land. It's actually surrounded on most three sides by protected land already. So on the Arizona border there is the Grand Canyon Parashant National Monument, and then to the south and the west is the Lake Mead National Recreation Area. But this area itself doesn't have a protected designation. It has an administrative designation. It's an area of critical environmental concern designated for desert tortoise habitat, bighorn sheep habitat, and the cultural resources that are there. And actually the entire area, about 350,000 acres, is an area of critical environmental concern. And so what our group is doing is we're working to achieve permanent protection for this area. We want to see it be a national conservation area or a national monument, something that gives it more of a permanent protected status under the law into the future. And so we've been working for about 15 years to do this. Friends of Nevada Wilderness is a good partner with us. They have been working alongside us on this campaign, as well as Friends of Sloan and other friends groups in the area. And we just want to see this area protected. And right now, getting back to the damage part of it, right now we are seeing a decrease in land management presence on the land due to some adverse circumstances, a conflict between the federal government and a rancher there. And because of that, we are seeing that more and more we're seeing more vehicle intrusions, as I said, more trash, and so we felt compelled to sort of release this report to stimulate response and action to say that it's really an urgent need to protect this area. So, you know, Sloan Canyon is a national conservation area, and it is already protected. The wilderness areas that the Friends of Nevada Wilderness work in, those are protected under the law, and actually some of the highest protections under the law that they have. I'm trying to end my screen sharing here. You know, we're seeing that without that permanent protection, there's just a damage to the resource. And then we also think that a more permanent protected status would allow for people to travel there in a more responsible and safe way.
Beautiful. Following up a little bit, the idea of proposing this as a national monument was a big deal recently at the event at Zappos. Can you tell us a little about your big shindig at Zappos?
Sure. And I think I'll sort of introduce it, but I think I'll turn it over to Siobhan, because really the partner that Keen Footwear was working with was the Friends of Nevada Wilderness. And Gold Butte was one of the areas that they are highlighting on a tour across the United States. And Siobhan can tell you a little bit more about that.
Beautiful.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Jana. So basically, Keen Footwear decided to really step up their game, and they realized that the outdoor industry has so much power and they have so much influence that they really need a will to protect the places that people play. And so they kind of looked at what are kind of some of the last truly wild, truly, you know, most deserving of protection areas around the United States. So they picked 5 places, and Gold Butte was one of those 5. And we've had a previous relationship with Keen and Zappos. We've taken them out on restoration trips in Mount Charleston. So they kind of partnered with us. And then we kind of brought in our coalition partners like Friends of Gold Butte, Sierra Club, Sloan Canyon, just to kind of get the buzz out and get everybody out. So Keen kind of partnered with Zappos to host this event. Gold Butte was the first stop on their tour. They refurbished this really cool 1970s bus RV, and they're basically taking it on a road trip across America to these places, as well as other places around on the way, to promote these areas, get people, you know, excited about them, and sign this Live Monumental petition that they're going to send to the White House administration to urge President Obama to declare these areas as national monuments. And as we've seen, it's actually doing work already. It kind of gave the incentive for Idaho to recently protect Boulder White Clouds, which was one of the areas that Keen chose as well. And so that's protected right now as wilderness. So it's working, people are listening, and the buzz is going, and it was just amazing to see the kind of momentum and enthusiasm behind Gold Butte, and kind of give it a new breath of life into the campaign. So
fantastic. Hey, Siobhan, can we ask you to do some screen sharing?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. Let me just start my little screen share here. So I kind of put together just a few images, iconic images of Gold Butte. What I think about Gold Butte is not only the amazing prehistoric cultural artifacts that are out there, but I mean just the wondrous geology. I mean, when you go out there, you really kind of feel the eons of time all come together at one moment. I always say it's kind of being like in a Salvador Dali painting when you're out there.
There's something to be said for pictures like that, not the one that Siobhan is showing right now. There's an aspect of the desert that that people have a hard time with. people that visit the desert for the first time, you know, you're traveling on an interstate, you're going 80 miles an hour, and you kind of look out the window and you see a lot of people feel like they see nothing, or they see a wasteland, they see the faraway view. And what pictures like this show is that the beauty of the desert, there's a lot of people that like the faraway view, the kind of austere, you know, serene view of the desert. But there's a lot of folks that, you know, folks like us, we're kind of trying to get out the message that it's there's another view that people don't get, and that's the up close view. And that when you go over that weird wash, that weird plain wash, or over that that mountain ridge, you're going to see things like this. It's like all of a sudden you drop into a landform or some kind of weird construct of geology that makes it feel like you're in a playground, or it's just like it's you know, it's like you're on an alien world. You know, the desert fools you. If you've you know, for folks that are watching this right now, if you've never been to the desert Southwest, you know, don't just give it a chance by looking out your window from the car. You got to get out. You got to go hiking around that landform a little bit, around that mountain, over that ridge, and you know, and pictures like that, you know, views like that, landscapes like that are all over the, you know, all over the place. This is an area, Gold Butte's an area where there's just a lot of strange geology going on. It's just an awesome place to wander around.
Yeah, definitely well said. Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of people kind of give the desert a bad rap and kind of say, oh, well, it's just a wasteland out there. There's nothing out there. But as we've seen time and time again, there's just so much amazing biodiversity that exists in the desert. And you can go up to the top of Mount Charleston and see ancient bristlecones, and then go down to Gold Butte and then see, you know, ancient petroglyphs and this wondrous geology formations, and of course the epic views and the expanse of views that you can only get in the desert. It's just something to be said. So, and then with that in mind, just wanted to kind of get into, briefly introduce the idea of wilderness, because we've kind of thrown out that word, and some people, I think, are not really sure. You know, we have so many different land classifications: national conservation area, wilderness area, national recreation area, and so a lot of it kind of gets muddled up. But to us, wilderness areas were kind of devised in 1964 when the Wilderness Act was first passed into law. And I urge everyone to go read the Wilderness Act if you haven't, because it's just amazing poetic language that exists. But basically it was set forth to protect the natural integrity of, you know, places like the one like Gold Butte, where there's just these amazing intact landscapes that we just need to preserve the naturalness of it. And so the Wilderness Act set forth to make it an area where, quote, the earth and its community of life are untrammeled by man, where man himself is a visitor who does not remain. And I think that kind of goes largely into our conversation here today, where we're talking about sustainable travel and how do we leave only footprints in an area. How do we make sure that we're not trammeling up, you know, every mountain or every desert that we set foot in?
Right.
So I kind of put it together a little. I'm sure many of you have kind of heard about leave no trace principles, and you could always look it up and read more about it, so we don't have to kind of go too far in depth. But just kind of want to briefly go over the 7 principles. Plan ahead and prepare. A big thing is, of course, in southern Nevada, throughout the Southwest, we know that weather can change really drastically. And so we don't want you to go out to these areas that are wild, they're primitive, you don't have cell phone service, and you want to make sure that you're prepared and you're not getting caught in bad weather. So just kind of know what you're doing, know your route. Friends of Gold Butte is a great organization to contact, and just make sure you know where you're going. They always point out great spots. I don't know if Jana, you want to kind of talk more about this.
Sure, yeah. So I think this is actually really important for Gold Butte, and the reason why is because right now, and this is, there are no services out in Gold Butte, and there's very few interpretive signs. And so if somebody were to take a drive down to Gold Butte and they didn't really know where they were going, about 15 miles in, the pavement ends, and there begins a series of very rough dirt roads, some of them of varying degrees of roughness. But there are no bathrooms, and there is no water, and there are very few signs to tell you where to go. And you know, if you were to just drive out there and you didn't really know where you were going or what you were doing, you could probably run into trouble, especially if you had maybe a quarter tank of gas and you thought you were just gonna take a quick jaunt through the desert, or if you didn't have any water with you, you're in the desert. So it's really important, especially in some of these areas in Nevada and in Gold Butte, to know where you're going and know what you're going to do and know how far away from civilization it is, because there are places that are really, really far out there, and you don't have any cell phone service, so you might not be able to call for help if you need to. And so we always encourage people, when you go out into the desert and when you go out into Gold Butte in particular, know where you're going. Look at a map, do a little research on the internet before you head out there, and just make sure that you have all the things that you need so that you can have a safe experience while you're out on that land.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are we seeing tour companies or businesses or groups from Las Vegas taking people out to the areas in a responsible manner? Are there ways to connect with people going out?
So there's no official commercial tour companies that I know that go out into Gold Butte right now. Most of it is groups of people. So Friends of Gold Butte, the organization that I work with, we lead outings and hikes out there, and we take people out and we tell them what they need to bring, and people can sign up for our hikes. And then I've also seen ATV groups out there, just ATV clubs driving around, and a lot of those people, there's a lot of people who like to ATV on the designated trails out there, and they're locals, they know where they're going for the most part, but right now there's not very many commercial entities that are going out there, and I think it's a permitting thing.
I hear you.
So I actually kind of changed the slide right there. So that kind of shows, ATVers enjoying all the, 500 miles of roads and trails that Gold Butte has. And that's actually the second kind of leave no trace ethic, is travel on durable surfaces, keep to designated routes. As Jana mentioned in their report, I mean, we've seen over the years just irresponsible off-road vehicle use, and trail use too. You can't just go off the beaten track and carve a new trail, that causes soil erosion. It disturbs cryptobiotic soils that have been found in Gold Butte. So this is a huge problem, and these scars don't just go away. They're almost permanent, and as we've seen, you kind of carve your own road and just go off into the desert, and then other people think it's a road. So then they take your tracks, and then over time it just creates, this really bad, just scars, land scars, as you can see in the picture.
That's a wonderful, terrible photo.
Yeah. That's a sad photo, and that's one photo, that's a different angle of it, but that's one of the photos we included in our report. And I included it just as the cover page of our photo, not as something that we recorded recently, because actually that vehicle damage was done about, I don't know, I want to say about 8 years ago. Do you think that's right, Siobhan?
Yeah, this picture was taken a while ago.
Yeah, and if you go out there now, it's still there. So that tells you how fragile the desert is. And I think, too, it's the other important thing to realize, too, is each area is different. So Sloan Canyon National Conservation Area, for example, they have, I don't know how many motorized, if people can actually ATV in there. Can they, Jim?
Not anymore. in the decades leading up to its National Conservation Area designation, the eastern portion of what's today Sloan Canyon NCA was used. There were a lot of ATV routes, and folks still go out there. They don't know. Again, it's all a matter of education and outreach, letting folks know that actually it's not only is it a day area, but it's no motorized vehicles any longer. Those trails are really just designed for or meant for foot traffic, mountain biking, biking and equestrian use. So it's a little challenge, getting people to getting the proper signage up, getting getting the proper word out that that's a no-go zone anymore.
Beautiful.
And I think that just gets back to the point of it's important to sort of plan and know where you're going, whether you are an ATV rider or whether you are a hiker or just want to take a nice drive through the desert.
Definitely.
No, I applaud you for showing us the irresponsible tourism, because that is a good way of showing what is responsible, and it's good to know what we should be avoiding. Hey, what's the new photo?
Well, dispose of waste properly. We don't need to really go into that. I think a lot of folks know, pack out your trash, pack it in, pack it out, leave only footprints. But the next ethic definitely goes into kind of the damage report, all the damage that's been found in Gold Butte and elsewhere. And I'm sure in Sloan Canyon the same kind of issues crop up. But again, it's leave what you find out there, whether it's wildlife, prehistoric, historical artifacts. Leave what you find and don't disturb it. We try to warn people, don't even touch the petroglyphs, because over time, it's just fingers are just going to wear down that rock. And so here is a picture of, unfortunately, some folks wanted to shoot at the petroglyphs. And I'm sure Jana could talk more about all the damage that's been done to, these amazing remnants of the past that we have.
Yeah, so and over the years, it's really sad. You just find that people either spray paint over petroglyphs or they shoot bullet holes into these cultural resources. Those, of course, are intentional acts. Why people do that, we don't know. And, it's something that I believe most people are always vigilant and looking out for, and that's very devastating. Also in Gold Butte recently, there are 2 pioneer grave sites that were desecrated. They were dug up, and so that's something that is an ongoing issue in Gold Butte. And then I think there's a lot of too. It's important to understand that sometimes irresponsible travel means that you don't necessarily intentionally destroy something, but just by driving where you're not supposed to drive, you drive over an archaeological site that you didn't know was there. And so we see, a lot of times like these old rock shelters that, archaeologists have described and mapped and outlined. People lived there a long, long time ago. Whether they're characterized by the lithic fragments that are there, but if an ATV rider who wants to maybe take a shortcut somewhere, takes a jaunt across the desert, a lot of times those artifacts will be scattered about, and you don't even know what you're driving over in that sense, and then you're just crushing some of that record from the past that's there that other people like to discover. And so I think that leave what you find means don't destroy something intentionally, but also, try to look around and be aware about what the things are around you so that you don't destroy something unintentionally as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. That's the next kind of ethic is minimize campfire impacts. And, I always kind of go back to the Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires, but that also goes with, desert fires and also just kind of, a campfire ring is the best way to camp. But if you're kind of more in a primitive site, definitely the next day putting it out, making sure it's out all the way, but also kind of erasing the trace of your campfire, so that when the next person comes, they come to a natural area as well. So they kind of get that same feeling of being in a wild place without, that kind of feeling of a place being trammeled, like using the word earlier, or kind of seeing those previous human habitations. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to this. Right. So only two more, and I think this one is definitely a big component that goes into sustainable travel, and that's respecting the wildlife, especially when we're talking about places like Gold Butte and Sloan Canyon, where, I mean, it's critical desert tortoise habitat. Gold Butte is full of those ACECs, areas of extreme environmental concern, and it's for a reason. Is that this is one of their last vestiges of habitat, and we need to respect that. And respecting wildlife is, viewing wildlife from safe distance. That's safe for yourself and also for the animal. And of course, just not messing with them, and just letting them kind of live that natural life.
And I think it's important too, especially with desert tortoise. A lot of people, they're sort of slow moving, so a lot of people will pick them up and don't pick them up. That actually is very damaging to them, because not only do they have foreign oils from your hands on their shells and their bodies, but they also they're very fearful. They become very fearful when you pick them up, and if they actually, a lot of times a fear reaction promotes a response of urination, and if that happens, it could mean the death for a tortoise. It could mean that it loses its water supply that it is depending on for the next 6 months or something like that. So just let it be, and kind of, it's neat to sort of photograph from a distance, but don't scare it. Don't walk up to it and pick it up and shake it all around. Some people don't know that, they don't know that if they don't just put it back where, if they pick it up and look at it and then put it back, it's a living thing. So
what is our fascination for picking up wildlife?
Yeah, I don't know.
Once you find out, Ron, be sure to tell.
I don't get it.
Or getting very close to wildlife so that it invokes a violent response, such as we hear about on the news with a lot of other, in the Yellowstone, where people take selfies with the bison.
Oh. Well, that's too, and in the desert, people love messing with snakes and rattlesnakes and all of that, and you're not only endangering yourself, but you're disturbing a wild creature.
Beautiful.
So my last one, and that kind of ties up all the ethics, is be considerate of other visitors. And if you kind of be respectful of all the other virtues, you're kind of, or the ethics, you're kind of wrapping up with the last one, and you're being considerate of other people's time out in that area. You don't want to come to a place that's trashed and just kind of all the wildlife is disturbed, and and there's just damage to a petroglyph panel that you've enjoyed for so long. You're really just detracting from other people's experience of having a wild experience and getting out there, enjoying what wild Nevada has to offer. So it's kind of one of those things where if you want this, just kind of try to respect the same kind of experience that you would like. So.
Well said. Hey, great presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. Glad to share it.
We're going to be winding down the Hangout, but and I know Jim has to get going, but I'd like to ask for any final comments, and I'm also would like to invite you to consider doing this, on a regular basis with me, and bring me up to speed and bring some other people up to speed. I think the Hangouts are a great way of connecting people, either in the same city or across the state, and I'd love to learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I'd like to throw this over to Jim. Any final comments?
Yeah, when we talk about sustainability and ethics in wilderness travel, I think there's an aspect of it that's really about culture clash, and more than that, culture change. So in desert communities, like Las Vegas decades ago was a community of a couple tens of thousands of people, where a couple families maybe a year would go out into a canyon or to a wilderness area and camp out there or have fun or do some hunting. Or do some plinking, in the desert, off-road fun. That was seen as a lot, or shooting at things was seen as much less destructive entertainment than we see it today. But now Las Vegas, areas like Las Vegas or Phoenix, Tucson, there are millions of people in this area now, and when that when those numbers go up proportionally, if not greater, where now thousands or tens of thousands of people are going out into these wilderness areas, and that damage multiplies significantly, and when it multiplies like that, it could do irreparable harm to an area, and so it's so there's the culture clash. Culture change is I think there's a challenge we have where folks that have been here for decades are like, look, what's the matter with us taking some pot shots and stuff? What's the matter with us? It wasn't a problem in the '60s running roughshod over an area. Oh, pardon me. I think I'm getting pardon me 1 second. I apologize. I did a coming phone call. People that have been here for decades are like, hey, I could do all this stuff, but you guys are telling me not to do stuff that we had no problems doing before. I think it's just a matter of outreach, education. Helping people understand that it's a different way of seeing things now. It's a different ethic. It's a matter of protection. It's a matter of protecting these areas from ourselves, frankly. The same people that want to have fun and recreate and enjoy the area, and we're in danger of giving it a big Lenny hug where we're going to squeeze it to death. So groups like ours, Friends of Sloan, Friends of Gold Butte, and Friends of Nevada Wilderness we're about helping people sort of see the light in that area and help them be responsible. Give them the information they need to go out and have fun, but also give them the information they need to keep it fun and to keep it safe and keep it wild.
Perfect. Jim, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim. That was great.
Very well said.
I've been giving it a lot of thought.
Well, fantastic. Jana, any final comments?
So I would just like to ask anybody who's viewing, if you would like more information about Friends of Gold Butte, please go to our website. It's www.friendsofgoldbutte.org. And on that website, we have a petition. I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you again and show you where to locate the petition on our website. It's right up here in the very upper right corner. And if you click on the petition, what you'll see is an Action Sprout petition. There's also a link. I'm going to add a link to a Friends of Nevada Wilderness petition that's not linked to Facebook, but it basically says, I support permanent protection for Gold Butte. And what we really believe this will do is bring the resources that area needs to see permanent protection in that area. And if you just click on this link, it'll allow you to, well, it asks you to log into Facebook, but it'll allow you to sign your name and your email and click on that. And then that way we can use the names that we are collecting. We're giving them to our delegates. We're letting our elected officials know that there is interest to protect Gold Butte. So that would be my final comment. Please sign our petition. And if you have any questions about Gold Butte or want to visit the area, please contact me.
Perfect. Thank you so very much. And yeah, we'll be including all of these links in our show notes so people will have access to it. And Siobhan, we'll end up with you.
I just want to say that to whoever's watching, whether you're in Nevada, New York, wherever, I mean, these are your lands. We're showing these lands here in Nevada, and they're your lands. They're public lands. They're owned by you own a part of these lands and they're yours, and so we all need to kind of pitch in and take care of our America's public lands. And so you can do that through signing these petitions, doing advocacy, speaking up, calling your congressional representative, and making sure that they're protected for years, generations to come. And you can also participate in restoration projects. We're always running stewardship projects to kind of keep these areas wild. So yeah, participate in sustainable travel. Let's respect the area. Let's keep it wild, and we'll enjoy it. Our kids will enjoy it. Our grandkids will enjoy it for years and years to come.
Yay!
Woo!
That's my Muppet cheer. Thank you, everybody. This is fantastic. And yeah, this is a conversation that we'll be continuing. For our viewers, comments are certainly welcome on the Google event page, on the YouTube page, and keep track of these wonderful people. And if there are ways to continue the conversation and let people know the connections, yeah, we'll be on top of it. Cheers, everybody.